comment. Also, please press the notification button so each time I post, you will get notified. Also, check me out on my other platforms, my Telegram, my YouTube, my Rumble, and here on Fabulous YouTube. So, I'm on because I found something. And I obviously had to share with you. So I'm going to wait for a few people to come on, actually. See if anybody comes on before I start yapping my mouth. I want to see if anybody comes on. I don't know why I keep on saying that. I'm just gonna wait and see if anybody comes on. If not, then I'll probably just come on tomorrow. Seeing if anybody comes in. Doo-doo. Hello? Anybody there? It's 222. Nobody's on. Is anybody gonna be on? I'm just gonna give it a few. See if anybody comes in. Excuse me. One person on. Yay! I was waiting for somebody to come on because I was like, didn't want to talk to myself. What is admin? What is admin? Is it a bot? Hey, what's up? What's going on, admin? White privilege? Really? What is that? Confused. Are you white privileged? I'm just asking. If I speak Russian? No, actually, I wish I did. Actually, I would like to learn Russian, to be honest. So why would you think I'm Russian? I'm just curious. I was gonna say if admin spoke Russian because it looked Russian to me, but I didn't want to jump the gun. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to jump the gun. Oh, you talking about... I thought you said if I spoke Russian. No, I wish I did. I think Russian people are cool. And I think they're like the toughest out of a lot of people due to the fact that I think they really have tough skin. And they're, you know, if they want something, they get it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know YouTube is doing me dirty because you know I was gonna post about Davos. Yeah, I know YouTube. YouTube's been doing me dirty for like that's why I go to Rumble, but Rumble's hard because Rumble you have to like do a whole video and then upload it like YouTube, and I don't want to do that. I want to just go live. So, yes, YouTube does do me dirty. Do I look like a guitarist from a band? Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, I kind of do. With my long hair, right? I kind of do. That's funny. That's cool you said that. Nope, not a guitarist. But actually, that's funny you say that. My husband played the guitar. And he's no longer here. He's been gone for 8 years. So that's a different story for another day. Well, I like music that has instruments. Not like what they have now, like auto tunes and all that. I was raised like very old school. So all the old school music I listened to was all like guitarists, band players, you know, like real music. Like playing real music, not fake music. Like I like Frank Sinatra, Billie Holiday, Dean Martin, um, Cole, what's his name? Nathan Cole? No, he was a jazz singer. O King Cole? Is it O King Cole? Something like that. I like jazz. I like a lot of jazz. Yeah, I like orchestra. Yeah, I like instrumental. I like classical. I love jazz. I'm like more old school than the new things that they play now. So yeah, Brian, they've been playing me dirty. But I wanted to show you that video from Davos, from what they're planning. So on my channel, I've been talking about concentration camps. So in New York, they've been trying to push concentration camps, right? So I do have a Rumble account if you guys would like to check me out. It's Angels of Enlightenment. It's the same thing as my YouTube channel. If you could go and smash the like button over there, because that's what it is. It's not a like button, it's a smash button. And do follow. If you can follow me over there, that'll be dope. But so I found some. So I was doing some research, right? And I came across a video, and I was like, interesting. I haven't watched it all because I was like, let me post it on YouTube first, right? And then let me see what you guys think about it. But I was waiting for at least a few people to come in to talk about what's going on. For us, New Yorkers. For us, New Yorkers. They're trying to do concentration camps, yeah. It's called, the bill is A416. So if you look up the bill for New York, A416, it's there. And they're trying to implement it in the 50 states. No, everyone. So what they're going to try to use is they're going to weaponize, like what they did in 2020 when they closed down the country, right? Nah, you're wrong. Huh. Well, I haven't gotten to the dispensary yet. I will be going in August because I can't drive over there. Actually, no. I think I'm going to take a drive this Saturday. Because I'm going to have someone drive me. Because this person get gummies. So I'm going to be like, can you drive me to Mass and use my truck? So I'm going to use my truck to go to Mass. I know I got sidetracked like the squirrel. But yeah. So I found this video on, yes. So do you know it's election season? So it's what? It's 2024. We're there. We're almost about there where they're trying to do some shenanigans. So I'm just giving you guys posted because I know what's going on. I don't know if you guys know what's going on, but I know what's going on. Because I do a lot of research. I don't just do tarot. I don't just do meditation videos. I don't do you know, when I'm not a healer. I am, but I'm saying that's not what I do all the time. I do research about the Constitution, our rights as humans, our violations of human rights. I'm a big advocate because I do advocate. I am an advocate. I am a certified advocate, actually. So, and I advocate for children that have disabilities and parents that have kids that have disabilities. So, yeah. You're talking about the Fourth Amendment, right? Something in secede. It's like if like a cop comes to your house, right? And if they violate your Fourth Amendment right, you can sue them. So if you don't know what's your Fourth Amendment right, go do your homework.
Ladies and gentlemen,
well, look, it started on its own.
Boy, is
that's weird.
Going on in the world right now. And we have
you seen that? I didn't touch it. Look, I was talking to you.
And they affect what's happening not just here in America, but things globally.
That's
we'll be diving in
crazy.
A few housekeeping notes. One,
hold on, let me pause.
I know that I've gotten a lot of positive, thankful, and critical feedback from you. Positive approach.
So, did you guys just see that? It was live. I did not touch it. You seen me? I'm right here, like literally. The look. That is right there. I did not touch it. Some weird shit's going on. And I think they really want you guys to listen to this. I know I'm on to something. Remember I told you about the concentration camps, right? YouTube don't like me, so I don't really care. Seriously. But we're gonna Liwa, did you just see what happened? I wasn't there. I didn't touch it, did I? You seen me, like, dude, I'm like right here. I was talking to you, my computer's over there. Alright? Like, how can I reach? Like, how? You didn't see me reach, did you? You didn't see me reach. That thing turned on its own. I didn't touch it. You guys want to? You guys can rewind it and see that it started to play on its own. I wasn't playing it. Okay? That's all I'm gonna say. So, are you guys ready? I'm gonna give you guys about like a few seconds. Let me know when you guys are ready, in the comments, so I can start it and we can watch it together. I haven't seen it personally. He also has a video on tonight at 10 o'clock talking about the concentration camps where in all 50 states, which I'm going to show you the thumbnail for that. Ready by 5x5. So if you have an hour, enjoy your hour. Get something to drink. I got me some apple juice. We got our vapes ready. Let's look at the shit show. That's... If we comply, they're going to do it. That's what I'm going to say. All right? But let's go. Because I'm interested. Like I said, I haven't watched it. I haven't seen it. But we're going to watch it together. In my new comfy office chair. My brand new chair. So I'm going to move you guys. Hold on. Alright, guys, sorry. Let's watch some popcorn. Pop in the popcorn, guys. Pop in the popcorn. Alright, hold on. You guys have an hour? I have an hour. We have an hour. We can do this, guys. We can do this. So I'm going to show you the thumbnail for this. Actually, hold on. Because this kind of looks retarded. Hold on. And I can see everything from the chat. Hold on. Darn it all. Or hold on, guys. Because this is going to be hard for me to chat. Because of this. Ugh. What the heck? Sorry, guys. Malfunction. Alright, guys. So we're gonna go back here. So his name is Man in America. He's on Rumble. It's right here. Check him out. So tonight, remember I told you about the concentration camps? So the concentration camps is going to be on at 10 o'clock. It says, why are these building secret detention camps in all 50 states? Look. You see that? Am I making that up? No. But, okay, so we have this one. It says, something big is happening. We're going to watch that one. So it's an hour and 5 minutes. So if you got an hour and 5 minutes to spare, let's do this. I'm ready. Hopefully you are. Because I am. Let's look at the shit show.
Approach to let me know that the audio kept...
Alright. Let's fast forward a little bit. Darn it all. Never mind, it's not going to work that way. Alright, here we go, guys. So, Brian, you ready? It's on 100. Let's go. Come on.
Seth Wholehouse. Boy, is there a lot going on in the world right now. And we have some pretty big stories that we're going to be talking about tonight. And they affect what's happening not just here in America, but things globally. So we'll be diving in a few housekeeping notes. One is that I know that I've gotten a lot of positive, thankful, and critical feedback from you, positive approach to let me know that the audio kept screwing up. So if I was talking over here, my audio was cutting out. And I'm a really expressive talker. I move my head around a lot. And so it was a problem, but we figured it out. It was a setting on our audio software, funny enough, that was doing that. So hopefully the audio is perfect and good, and you can understand everything I'm saying. And I apologize if it isn't, and I apologize if it hasn't been great since we switched some things on our setup. So there's a variety of topics that we're diving into today. But what I'm going to be doing tonight is weaving together a bigger picture of what I'm seeing. So I'm sure that you are in a similar place as me from the perspective of you're trying to figure out what's happening in the world. Something woke you up, whether it was a friend when you were younger, or a parent, or 9/11, or COVID, or whatever it is, an injury from the things that are pushing around that time, something woke you up and told you that the world's just not right. There's something greater happening here. It's not just about left-right politics. It's not just about these minor things. There's a much bigger agenda that's playing out here. And so you've probably gone down some rabbit holes looking at things like the bloodlines or the Freemasons, or even looking at the communist infiltration into our own government, as you're trying to piece together what this war looks like. Because there's a sense that you and me and the people surrounding us, we're just the common people. We're just the average people trying to live our lives on this earth. And there's this class of people that is some people call them the elites, which I think gives them too much credit, but they are elite in a certain sense. They're extremely wealthy and powerful, which you would say gives them that status. But I think the status of maybe parasite bloodsucker might be a little more accurate, or whatever you want to call it. But there's people that have, for multiple generations, gained a lot of power in this world, and they're now, in a very overt way, trying to use their power to gain absolute control and absolute power of us. And they've been doing it very quietly and silently for a very long time. As they've been amassing their wealth and their power and their control over countries and corporations and regions and resources and energy resources, etc. But now what's happening, though, especially in the past, I would say probably the past 10 years or so, but especially probably the past 3 or 4 years, what's happened is that this struggle for them to take control of the world has reached this final stage of their plans. And they are trying very hard to finish the job and lock us up in these digital prisons, or these gulags, or whatever you want to call what they're creating for us. But in the process of this final stage, they've had to reveal themselves. And this has caused a lot of people to wake up and say, hey, whoa, there's these powerful people that have this pretty bad agenda. And this is what they worry about, because the real power, like the true power, is actually in the collective. It's in the collective of us. They will only be able to enslave us if they can get us to be so brainwashed that we go along with everything they want to do until it's too late, right? So they're building this trap. This trap is a digital trap. It has to do with the social credit scores and digital IDs and medical passports and a massive 5G network and satellite networks. And this is their trap that they want to use to control us. Central bank digital currency is an absolute major part of that trap. Control our finance, etc. But we have to walk into that trap unknowingly before it'll work, because if enough people realize that they're building this, people will start rejecting that system. It's like what you see happening over in London with I think it's called the Blade Runners, this group of people that are going around and chopping down all of this surveillance equipment. It's actually really inspiring, because they're trying to create these 15-minute cities over in London, yet these people are going and chopping down and spray painting and destroying all the cameras, so they're resisting it, right? And this is why this cabal or deep state, they're so scared of us understanding their plans, because it's actually these simple everyday acts, like what they're doing, these Blade Runners over in the UK, of civil disobedience. You can say that that's property destruction, and we'll get into that, but to me it's like, okay, I don't want this 15-minute city. So it's all the people that are acting in response to them that I think have them worrying. And so as we've been approaching this next upcoming election, I really think that what's happened is that their plans have had to go into hyperdrive. But the faster these plans have been enacted, the riskier they are, the more likely we will find out about the plans. And I think the more fractures you see within these groups. So I'm going to start with pulling up a tweet from Tucker Carlson. So this is an important point here, because we're now watching I'll come back to myself real quick. We're watching a massive shift happen in the political landscape here in America. And I'm sure you watched or you saw highlights of the debate with Joe Biden. And regardless of whether you saw the highlights of the debate or not, if you just look at how the media is reacting and how people are reacting, it's apparent that there is some sort of fire happening. There's some sort of actual panic, within the Democratic Party, because their frontrunner candidate has now on national television in front of everybody revealed parts of just where he's at mentally. And these are things that the media has so closely guarded. They've kept so many people in the dark of this. I think that you've probably seen what's going on because you're watching this show and you're probably on Twitter or Telegram and you're watching other great shows that are exposing this. But for a lot of people, they get their news they get the local newspaper, which is now mostly bought and owned by the big conglomerates. There's very few true local newspapers. They turn on CNN, they turn on even Fox News to a large degree. They're not getting the real truth. They're getting a portion of it, but they're not getting the real truth. And so they've been left in the dark. But now the emperor has no clothes, and everyone can see it now. And this is what's significant. But what's happening though is you're seeing a panic. But what panic does is it reveals cracks. So if there is a group of people that are working together to achieve some sort of goal, and maybe there's some infighting and there's some disagreements, but when they keep things together, they're able to advance towards that goal. But when something really, really panic-inducing happens, you start to see fractures within that group, and you'll see them split up often, right, and form new subgroups, and they'll blame each other for it, etc. And I think this is what we're experiencing. So when I say that there's something big happening, what I think is that the deep state, and that's it's such a broad term, it's so hard to define, but you can make what you want of it. But that this group of people and corporations and whatever it is that have been really seeking to end our own freedoms, that entity is fracturing right now, and there's infighting. And I think that it's falling apart, actually. And this is great, right? Because to me, this isn't about Democrat versus Republican. Because, honestly, I really believe that we live in a uniparty system. There's the illusion that there's left versus right. Now, I think Trump is an anomaly. Trump is not part of their system. That's why they hate him so much. That's why the GOP hates Trump, right? But there's this illusion in America that we have this two-party system, and that, it's funny because, okay, well, in 4 years, and we'll get our guy back in 4 years, and we're going to fix everything. And the other side thinks they're going to get their guy back in 4 years and fix everything too. And we keep pouring all of our energy into this system instead of actually realizing that there's this massive criminal conglomerate above this system that controls almost every aspect of the system. And one of their jobs is to keep us focused on this two-party system and keep all of our attention there and our efforts there so that we don't actually see them. But instead, what they're doing is they're reinforcing that the opposite party is the enemy. Well, the opposite party is the reason why the country is in the state that it is. The opposite party is the reason why groceries are more expensive or whatever it is. So they keep us fighting. What they also do is that they induce rage within us. And how do they do that? Well, what they do is they, especially the media, you look at this with the mainstream media and also social media, Google, even getting the big tech with Google search and what they're serving up on algorithms, etc. But what they do is there's this very simple program that they follow. Okay, so they take the whole country, they divide it into basically half. You've got your left and you've got your right. And so the mainstream media, they position themselves, right? So Fox News is the right-wing mainstream media. CNN is the left-wing mainstream media. And you have other media that they try to stay objective, but you can actually place them pretty much where they are. But what they do, though, is that they, and not just them, but even social media, you see this all over on X, you'll find these videos of this far left group, say they're pro-pedophilia or whatever it is, or you'll find these videos of these far right groups. Maybe they're actually pro-Nazi, or they're part of the KKK or whatever. I'm talking extreme. So what the media does is the left-wing media shows this little snippet, this little slice of the extremely far right, the one that actually gets a little bit extreme.
See, guys, I like this guy because, like I always say, it's not the right, it's not the left. All right? It's about us. It's about our Constitution. It's about what is right. What is right for our country? What is right for our human rights? What is our God given rights? And it's crazy how, how, like, if you, I don't watch the news. I don't care to watch the news. I usually watch YouTube or Rumble. Also, OogTube. If you guys don't know, OogTube also has some pretty interesting videos on there. I also have a channel there too. Nobody knows about OogTube, only I have it, but I do have it in the description box below. To find me there. So this is why I liked Rumble, due to the fact that things that they can't play on YouTube, because obviously Brian didn't get a notification that I was on. Well, they've been shadow ban. YouTube has been shadow banning me for about 2 years. So I'm just even shocked that I even got this many subscribers. And I think, to be honest, it's God. God wants me to reach certain people, and that's the mission, and that's what he put me on here to do. So I'm glad to do so, and I'm glad to share this information with you guys, because a lot of people are in the dark about what's going on. Oh, did you? Yeah, you told me that. You told me that this morning. You found me just scrolling. You know, that's crazy, because a lot of people found me just scrolling. Um And then, like I said, I don't care to have a lot of subscribers. I care to help people that generally want to help themselves, generally want to heal themselves. And also, I like the feedback, and not just the feedback, I like the conversation. We're building a family here, and I want everybody to feel safe, respected, heard, and validated. And I think that's what humans are supposed to be doing. But instead, like what he's describing, they want us like tooth and nail amongst each other, and it's sad. I might be Brian. I just might be. But let's keep on going, because it's really long.
But it shows that to the whole left wing viewership and says, look what the Republican Party's doing. And so what they do is they take the extreme out of this little part of the side over here, and they get one half of the country to focus on thinking that's the other side. But folks, the same thing happens to the other side as well. So you have, and you see this on Twitter with these videos going super viral, or you see it on Fox News, etc. What they do is they take some action of the very, very, very far left, and they show it to the right-wing viewers and the audience, and say, "Look what the left is doing! They're destroying our country." Right? But what they want, though, is that they don't want us to realize that aside from these two extremes on either end, that actually, in a lot of ways, the most of people here in America have the same common goals. Like, we want freedom, we want the ability to raise our families, we want the ability to speak freely. Now, I agree. There's been a lot of poisoning on both sides, and it gets you can add a lot more to that. But what it does, though, is it makes us think that that person is the enemy, and it makes us direct our hatred, our emotions towards that person. But what's happening, though, taking a step back, is that whole system, this whole two-party system, the media apparatus that's behind it, the whole thing's crumbling right now. And folks, this is actually extremely significant in the course of American history, because what we're seeing is that there was an apparatus that was constructed to control the populace. It was the mainstream media, big tech more recently, the education system. But these things were very intentionally instructed, working together with the alphabet agencies. We're talking Operation Mockingbird and many, many other operations and that they've extensively studied brainwashing, group psychology, and they've done to the American people. What they've done is they've created this modern life where we're so fractured, we're so divided, we're so confused, we have no idea who the enemy is, that it's made us a very weak country for a host, right? A parasite needs a host it can feed off of, but it needs a weak host, right? A strong, able-bodied person will...
Isn't that crazy? Because if you haven't read the JFK book, right? In one of his quotes, I'm going to show you. In one of his quotes, he says, okay, he says what he just said. So if you guys could find this book, it's an amazing book. I read some of it. I read some of his speeches, and he said, if we have a weak president, this exactly what's going on now, it's what's going on now. That's why, look at JFK. He said, let the word go forth. And he meant it because he knew what was going on behind closed doors. Everything that he is saying, JFK has warned us for how long? He has warned us. And look at where we are. Look at where we are. That's all I gotta say. But let's continue.
Will rip off that parasite as soon as it's discovered, but the weak person won't be able to. And so they've weakened us so much that they can bring these parasites in to suck from us. But this system is breaking. And so we're seeing it. Okay, we're looking at the post-it debate coverage. We're seeing this happening. You're seeing all kinds of mainstream, really even very left-wing mainstream media coming out and saying, New York Times even saying, okay, look, Joe Biden should be stepping down. He should be running again. USA Today, same message. But what I want to bring up now is this tweet that I was talking about earlier from Tucker Carlson. Okay, so this tweet right here says, from an unusually good source, this is from today, Obama's tweet supporting Joe Biden was disingenuous. In private, Obama, not Biden, funny enough. Obama is telling people Biden can't win and he is therefore in favor of an open convention. Obama will not say whom he supports, nor as of yesterday afternoon had he met personally with Biden to deliver the message. Relations between the Obamas and the Bidens have never been warm. At times they've been hostile, but recently they've deteriorated further, mostly due to Jill Biden. In the hours and days after the debate, she kept her husband cloistered away from anyone who might convince him to drop out. Jill Biden is the driving force behind her husband's re-election campaign, just as she was in 2020 when other members of the family, including Biden's sister Val, considered him too impaired to run. The next generation of potential Democratic candidates understands all of this as an opportunity, and they're circling, particularly Gretchen Whitmer, who is promoting herself aggressively. So this is really, really interesting to think about right now, because we've oftentimes looked at this deep state as one entity, and people have often said that, look, it's Obama's third term and they're not really in control. To say that Biden's aren't really in control, just Obama, still living in D.C. with very close proximity with his underground skiff and all this kind of stuff, still running the White House. But what this shows you, and I trust Tucker when he puts this out. I do trust this came from a real source, that this is valid information. But what it shows you is that they're not unified, that there is a genuine panic going on. But I think that what it is it is tied to the fact that there are multiple factions fighting and vying for power. And what's happening is that here we are, right? This is July 2024 as of today, just a few short months away from this election. And what it shows you, though, is that there is not not unity in this purpose that they have, which is really good, because what you want to see is that if you're fighting in a war and you realize that the generals of the opposing army are fighting and bickering by themselves, and one of the generals is like, well, I'm taking my regiment over here to do this, and blah blah blah. It's really, really good, actually. It represents a very weak front. So what's interesting, though, is that I have a really good little snippet from Steve Bennett to talk about, who I think actually today just went to prison. He's going up to Danbury, Connecticut, which is just insane. But there's also this discussion that's happening about what Trump will be like and what he will do when he gets back into office. And so there's a speech, I think, in 2023, where towards, in one part of it, Trump talked about retribution. And so what I'm also thinking that is happening is that there's a lot of people that are, that they're seeing what's happening with this split. The media now turning their backs on Biden with this information, about Obama. I'm sure this is coming out through other different sources as well. That's painting a very, very ununified party. So what I think is happening is that there's a lot of people that are now coming to the conclusion and thinking, oh, like Trump actually might get in and he might be president. And if he's president come 2025, he's now in the driver's seat. And he's not in his first term where he's trying to tread lightly because he has to be reelected. The second term is when you bring all the big guns out. The second term is when you take the wrecking ball to the structure because you're not concerned. Obviously, he's not going to be reckless, but like from the perspective that you don't have to act in a way that you're bowing down in every manner because you're already thinking about re-election. Like on day one of your first term, you're already thinking about re-election. So there's a lot of people that are chattering and clamoring about this retribution comment because they're worried. Like what they're genuinely concerned that this weapon of these agencies and the DOJ that's been pointed at, say, the Gen Sixers, has been pointed at the moms that were walking around the Capitol, that's been pointed at Donald Trump, it's been pointed at so many people, Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, and the list just goes on. These people are now concerned that it's going to be turned on them. And instead of, Biden, or whatever entity is controlling that weapon, it's Trump. And so they're kind of freaking out. They're really freaking out, actually. So I'm going to play a few-minute clip from a Steve Bannon interview with ABC. I think it was ABC or CBS, one of the media, where he's pressing Steve Bannon on this and saying, well, what's his retribution going to mean? But listen to this. Steve Bannon knows what he's talking about, and what he's describing here are, I think, very real actions that Trump will take when he's back in office. And this is really, really causing a lot of panic. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip for you. They pull it up here for you. And again, I forget which media it is, but it'll pop up. And it's about 2 minutes or so. It's a 12-minute clip, but then I selected a little bit to play for you. So listen to this.
2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today I add, I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution.
Some of those who served Trump and crossed him say they're worried. Stephanie Grisham, who was the communications director, the press secretary, communications director for chief of staff for the first lady.
She says, not talking about people like that. That's ridiculous.
She says that she's worried about being charged with treason. That she disappeared someday.
That's absurd. I'm talking about people in positions of authority. For instance,
Andrew McCabe, the former deputy head, he says he might leave the country.
He ought to be very worried. He's definitely going to be investigated. So is Comey. So is Esper. I believe Milley will. People, look at what happened
Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
Yes, because look at we don't know what conversations he had outside the military chain of command when he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs, when he talked to the Chinese, when he talked to Nancy Pelosi. We have to investigate all that. If you haven't done anything, you shouldn't worry.
Well, they're worried because Trump and you are talking about retribution.
It's not retribution at all. First off,
wait, those were his words, not my words.
And what he says by retribution, he said, like he said last night on the debate stage, his retribution is a very successful, more successful second term. What we're saying is we want justice. We want to have full investigations, and then if criminal charges come up, then criminal charges come up.
I mean, you've made a promise on your show to say that the Attorney General will be in prison.
100%.
So you're not just talking about
okay.
Is Bill Barr on the retribution list?
I think Bill Barr has to be investigated. Not retribution. You keep talking retribution.
Because Trump said retribution.
Justice.
You said retribution.
Justice. It's justice.
So Bill Barr needs to be investigated.
Bill Barr needs to
go to prison with
I didn't say that.
Well, I'm asking.
I didn't say that. We have to see. I'm not going to prejudge somebody. We have to see.
So Bill Barr could be going to prison.
As part of that's not retribution. It's justice.
Just days after the 2020 election.
So it's crazy. I forget, let's see, which media is this? Is this? I think it's CBS. I think it was. Or no, sorry, ABC. It's ABC this week. So what's crazy though with that is that this is exactly what's been done, right? So these officials that are working with Trump, people like Peter Navarro, for instance, they've completely thrown out any kind of immunity for their actions within the White House. And they've absolutely been targeted. I mean, look at Roger Stone being swatted early in the morning and having CNN waiting to film the whole thing. I mean, this entire system has been weaponized against good people, like good people, actually. And so, but now the shoe's getting ready to be on the other foot, it seems. And you can see that the host of this interview, I'm not sure what the guy's name is, I'm not a big fan of ABC, you can see that he is trying to kind of pin Bannon on this and say it's retribution, and Bannon's like, no, it's justice. Like, it's justice. You can say that what's happening right now in this country is injustice. And this is a problem because we've had injustice in this country for a very long time, actually. The people, the ruling class in this country have gotten away with mostly just about everything. The few show trials that they've had have had reasons behind them. Epstein, we were all cheering when Epstein was arrested, and like, where's that now? Where's Ghislaine Maxwell? Where's all the list coming out of that? So there's been a virus, a nasty problem of injustice in this country. And so what Bannon is establishing there is that justice is coming. It's not about political persecution. It's all about targeting, right? So Bill Barr, for instance, no, it's like, okay, he'll be in front of the court to be investigated, and if there is corruption, if there's treasonous activity, then he will be prosecuted, be taken care of, right, in the way that meets the legal requirement for the judgment for his actions. But my personal opinion is that, I'm not naming any specifics, there's too many people, I feel like there's a lot of people that have committed multiple versions of treason. I mean, honestly, even the American media, they have been complicit in treason. But again, what's interesting, though, is that there is this divide that's happening, this split that's happening. Now, and when you look at what's controlling our country and a lot of our politicians, there's a lot of forces. You could say that Israel is one of the forces that has immense power over our politicians. But I would also say it's the Chinese Communist Party. And now this is something that I am really trying to piece together to understand, is that what's happening right now with the CCP, and how does that relate to what's happening here in America? Because as much as a lot of people these days, they don't want to look at the CCP, they want to say, well, it's the bankers, and it's not the CCP, and Xi Jinping is trying to take down the deep state, and it represents, I think, a very naive view of the Chinese Communist Party and of their goals for America. And their goals are absolutely to take down America, right? This is the CCP's number one goal, is to become the world power, right? There's no other way to look at it. If you look at their writings, you look at leaked military speeches, you can see it's like, yeah, you can't really mince words on it. This is absolutely what their goal is. Now, I believe there's also, there's other entities. There's the DAVOS crowd, which we're getting into today, but also, it's hard to say how many of those people and organizations aren't also controlled by the CCP as well. And I will be doing a show soon on the origins of the CCP, because if you trace it back and look at the founding of the CCP, look at Mao Zedong himself, you can see there was significant European money backing the CCP. So there's a lot to unpack there in terms of where communism came from, because communism didn't come from China, right? It came from Marx, but Marx, who's financing Marx, it's a much deeper story, which I'll be doing a show on. But in looking at what's happening with China and the CCP, this is where it gets interesting. So I've interviewed Trevor Loudon quite a bit, and one thing that Trevor Loudon told me was that the CCP has so much control over our own government that they can basically pick which laws get passed, right? Which bills get voted on, which ones get voted yay or nay, etc. So I want to pull something up that highlights a big shift in something. We'll unpack what it is together, okay? So what we have here, this is very, very significant. So the House just passed a bill to counter Beijing's forced organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners. Now, this is an article on the Epoch Times, who is my number one source for anything China.
But that's nothing new. That's nothing new. They've been doing that forever. They've been harvesting organs for, have you seen those movies, those old, like 60s, 70s, 80s movies? Chinese movies? I used to watch them. Dude, they've been doing it forever. This is nothing new. This is old news. But now it's actually coming to the surface. Because where the planets are. You can't hide anything anymore. But let's continue.
I also cross-reference, obviously, but there's no to go to if I'm saying China. So this is significant because this was a bill that was passed in the House that got a very, very strong bipartisan.
Hey guys, have you ever seen Taken with Liam? Taken 1, 2, and 3? That has a lot to do with that. It's a really good movie. I'm sorry. If you haven't watched it, I advise you go watch it. It's called Taken, Taken, with Liam. I forgot his last name, but you get the drift.
Bipartisan support. Now let me go walk through this. So it says the House passed a bill with the goal of forcing an end to the Chinese regime's long-running campaign of persecution against the spiritual group, Falun Gong. So, Falun Gong, a meditation a discipline based on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, has been the subject of a relentless campaign in communist China designed to eradicate the faith. So, for the past 25 years, adherents of the practice, numbering up to 100 million, according to estimates at the time, have faced lengthy imprisonment, torture, forced labor, and forced organ harvesting. So, the Falun Gong Protection Act, which still needs Senate approval, calls for an immediate end to the persecution. If signed into law, it will require the United States to shun any cooperation with China in the organ transplantation field and to deploy targeted sanctions and visa restrictions to address the persecution of Falun Gong on the international stage. So there's one more thing I'll read down here for you because it describes a little more in detail what it means. So the Falun Gong Protection Act would also mandate sanctions on Chinese officials, military leaders, or others who are knowingly responsible for or complicit in or have directly or indirectly engaged in the involuntary harvesting of organs in China. Anyone on the sanctions list would be unable to enter the United States or engage in U.S.-based transactions and would have their current visas revoked. The bill also carries a civil penalty of up to $250,000 and a criminal penalty of $1 million and 20 years in prison for offenders. So this is really...
You see that craziness? That is bizarre. That's crazy. That's all I gotta say. That's ridiculous. So I'm going to show you proof about the concentration camps here in New York. So here we go. It's right here. So here you go. Whoop. As it falls. I'm trying to, Okay, so, sorry about that. So, this is concentration camps. So, these are the bills. I told you, see? I told you about the 416 bill. So, this is what, see, it was written in January 6, 2021. Isn't that odd? So, but this was the original one. And then they modified it on this one. See how it was modified? So this was the original. Right here. The small printed one. See? State of New York. 416, 2021 to 2022 regulation section in assembly. January 6, 2021. And it has, you can look it up. It's on your government website. It's all free information. It's free. You don't pay for nothing.
Significant, because I've been following China and human rights stuff since probably the early 2000s. I've been quite involved in a lot of different initiatives to really raise awareness of the evils of communism. That's what led to me starting the show Man in America, was just this mission of helping people understand communism, that yes, it really is a threat. So I can tell you that the persecution of Falun Gong and the organ harvesting of Falun Gong is one of these significant things that has shaped the modern Chinese Communist Party. So under Jiang Zemin, which is when the persecution first started, he basically set up a structure that allowed anybody who wanted to raise in rank in the CCP, basically one of the only criteria that they were looking at was how brutal can you be in your persecution of Falun Gong. And so you had massive torture, deaths, organ harvesting, etc. happening, because that was how you climbed the ladder in China. Like, it was literally like, if you could say that, yeah, we've tortured and killed thousands of these practitioners in our province, that's how you got, like, hey, great, here's your raise, right? Here's your bonus, here's your advancement to become a higher level secretary within the party. So this is a central issue to understanding the Chinese Communist Party, is the persecution of Falun Gong, which was its major thing in the past 25 years. And so what it says, though, actually, I'll pull this back up, because if I can find the exact quote in here. So yes, it says, Mr. Perry described the bill as the first binding commitment by Congress to take strong legal action against the persecution and forced organ harvesting of Falun Gong. So this is really significant, that this is the first binding commitment by Congress to take this strong legal action. So the fact that our own congressional members, many of who, and according to Trevor Loudon, a lot of them, in the past have been controlled by the CCP, just in a bipartisan effort within the House, passed this bill, which stabs at the heart of the structure of the CCP. So this is significant. Like, if this gets passed into law, which these days, if you look at a lot of things that we're trying to get passed, say from the Republican perspective, you're like, okay, yeah, it's got, there's no use. Okay, it's like, okay, maybe it barely gets through in the House, but Senate, no way, it's going through the Senate. This is something that it seems to have a lot of bipartisan support that I expect to get passed to law. So what this means, though, is that our own government now, through this law, would be taking a direct action against the vast majority of CCP officials, right, that have been, many of which have been involved in this. So this is a really significant thing, because it makes me wonder if something is happening, that what we're seeing with this debate, what we're seeing with the mainstream media, especially the more left-wing mainstream media, which is almost all of it, and their panic that's happening right now, it really makes me wonder, because this act was only passed a couple of days ago, is what's happening with China, right? Because what's one of the big things they've been trying to prove over and over again with Joe Biden is his ties to China, is the family's financial ties to the Chinese Communist Party. And so it just makes me wonder the timing of all this, is that there's something bigger happening here. Because even these politicians, right, I think a lot of our Congress members and elected officials are absolutely controlled by the CCP. They have been. This is why we've basically sold our soul to China, because so many of our politicians have been controlled by the CCP. So what does it mean, though, if our politicians are willing to sign off on a law that punishes the CCP in this way? It's really, really significant. It's really significant. Of course, also something that's just worth mentioning in this overall kind of shift in the tide of everything is right here. You have the Supreme Court decision just today on the presidential immunity, right? So basically saying that, yeah, like, Trump absolutely has presidential immunity. And so now, granted, they're going after him for things that were, you could say, were not presidential, that were more personal matters, but this shakes up the entire case against him and delays the entire case. So this is significant. I think, again, and this is why you have more and more of these people that are freaking out right now. And I think that, I have a feeling that what we're going to see is, as we get closer to the election, you're going to see people that were before very, very anti-Trump slowly step over to publicly align themselves with him, because they're realizing that this change is coming and they want to be on the right side of history. They don't want to be on his bad side, right? Because, again, we've witnessed the weaponization of this entire administration and these alpha agencies towards good people. And I'm not saying that Trump will then weaponize it against the bad people, because justice shouldn't be a weapon. Justice should be justice, right? But if justice is applied to bad people, then you're going to have a lot of sentencing. Now, treason is not a light sentence, right? Like, treason is a thing that in the old days you'd get strung up and shot and all kinds of things for treason. I mean, it's serious. It's absolutely serious. So I want to take a step over into Europe, because what I mentioned at the beginning of the show was that there's a much bigger thing that's happening here that is not just about America. There's a much bigger shift that's happening on the global stage. So I'm going to pull up this. So the elections are working their way on through the over in France right now. And so this is a Wall Street Journal article just updated today. It says, divide over anti-Semitism in France weakens unity against the far right. So this is a really interesting point that they're making here, because when you look at, basically, I'll summarize what's happening and what they're attributing Le Pen and her party having these massive wins early on that make it look like that she's going to basically win, and that France will become a far-right country, right, in terms of their political leadership. And instead of being an extremely socialist country, with open borders and all the stuff that France is known for. But what they're saying, though, this is interesting, is that it is the divide on Israel and Palestine that is causing the left in France to be divided. And they're not working together well. And so I'll pull up the article just to highlight this, because this is really, really significant. It says, in the wake of the parliamentary elections, candidates from Macron's party are at odds with their far-left counterparts. So what we're seeing right now in America is that we're seeing that the party, the Democratic Party, is now fracturing. And you're seeing that some people are calling out by whatever is happening, but it's fracturing and it's not working together. But the same thing is happening in France. I imagine it's not just France, it's a lot of other countries over in Europe, and especially in the European Union. So coming back to this, I want to just read this. It says, so deep divisions in France over anti-Semitism in the Gaza war have left Marine Le Pen's opponents at odds on whether to band together to stop her party from winning a majority of seats in the final round of parliamentary elections. So this is, again, you're seeing a divide happening there. But this isn't just France. So I want to pull this next article here saying, is France's far-right victory a turning point for Europe? Because, look, folks, as bad as we feel like it's been here in America, I'd say that Europe has gotten it a lot worse, actually. The immigration problem over there, the open borders, I mean, the rape, go look at what's happening in some of these European countries with the migrant rapes, and not just the rapes, but then even the judicial system penalizing the people that have been raped. I mean, it's absolutely insane what's been happening over in Europe. Well, it makes sense, though, because if you study and try to understand the controlling apparatuses of this world, you end up leading, being led to organizations like the UN, the World Economic Forum, the WEF, etc. And all this stuff is headquartered right over there in Europe. A lot of the finances, the banking, it's Europe. Europe is in many ways, it's the heart of this beast system, right? And so I'll pull this article back up, though, because this is really, really significant. Is France's far-right victory a turning point for Europe? So it says here, so France's far-right National Party, RN, led by Marine Le Pen, has secured a clear victory in the first round of parliamentary elections. The party wins an absolute majority in the July 7th runoff. France would have a far-right government for the first time since World War II. That is very significant. For the first time since World War II. Now, I want to scroll down here to a different part of the article where it talks about the broader ramifications for Europe. So what it says here, what would it mean for the EU? It says for the far right, it could be an opportune moment to influence the European Union. Hungary, led by Viktor Orban's national conservative Fidesz party for more than a decade, has just begun its 6-month stint as a holder of the bloc's rotating presidency. Additionally, far-right parties made significant gains in the June 6 and 9 European Parliament elections, a sign of the growing nationalist and populist sentiments across the 27 countries of the EU. Now listen to this, folks. The RN's influence could test aspects of the EU's Green Deal, which aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, etc., etc. And it says that the RN has campaigned against EU environmental regulations, arguing they harm jobs in the French industry. So again, what we're looking at is we see what's happening here in America, but what we're also witnessing is the same thing that's happening over in Europe. So this tells me that what we're seeing here is not isolated. There is something much bigger and deeper that's going on. But from the surface, just gathering all the evidence, what it looks like is it looks like this system that gained control of all these politicians around the world, through using organizations like the World Economic Forum, that this system itself is actually breaking apart and it's crumbling and they're losing. It's not that there's this big right-wing party, it's the populist movement, right? It's the movements of we the people around the world that are stepping back in and saying, look, we've had enough of this. We've given you a chance. Like your liberal policies have left our countries destroyed and decimated, and it's not getting better. And so they're coming back in and they're saying, look, we're taking control again. So I have a quick announcement from a sponsor, which I want to go over with you folks. Let's take about a minute. But so something interesting, I'm not sure if you watch streaming services or if you have, say, Netflix. We'll use Netflix as the benchmark, even though it's a pretty corrupt organization, but still. So Netflix in America shows you about 8,000 different movies you have an option from. But Netflix internationally has over, I think, 16,000. Like, there's a massive difference in the movies that you have access to. Now, the reason why you don't get access to all those movies is because you're in America. So, of course, America can't have access to its movies. But when you're using VPN, that gives you access. So, I want to pull up for you here.
All right, guys, we're going to...
actually, I'll show you that in a second here. But so, ExpressVPN. So, let me tell you a little bit about ExpressVPN. So, our narrative here. So, we're talking about the control over... so, don't forget to use this link because you're going to save. You get an extra 3 months free. So it's ExpressVPN entities to keep us controlled, keep us fighting, etc. But also how these European groups, like the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, how they have infiltrated governments and they have a significant amount of control. And so a lot of the agendas that we see being rolled out here in America.
So hey guys, before we continue this, I'm going to show you what he's talking about. Hold on. So this is I'm gonna go on my Telegram real quick. Because I have some things on there that I have people that I talk to, and I don't think everybody needs to know who I talk to. Where's my channel? All right, so here's my channel, guys.